Let's just be honest for a moment. Everybody that's standing around, put your hand up. If one person has said that to you that they're not voting for the PLP in the next election, put your hand up. Put your hand up. Put your hand up. That's about 35 to 40 hands going in there. So this is not just Chris Fairbanks saying it to you. What people are saying to other people, and the government needs to wake up and pay attention. That's why when we say that the law is the way, they think that we're wrong. So if somebody says something to me in the supermarket, on the street, Mr. Fairbanks, what's going on? What would you like to do? Well, it seems like the government is really like lost its way because they're not listening. And if you heard the minister a few minutes ago, at least I heard it, just making it sound like this is all the BIU and the government is not really going to back down because the BIU has got it all wrong. Interesting because the government, this is the minister, the government is not going to be in a position to strip away workers' rights. Nobody's actually stripping away any rights. But it's really disingenuous for you to say that a worker in a bargaining unit that had voting rights in 1998, who was a member of that bargaining unit, had a right to vote in a ballot for decertification. In 2021, we are prepared to give that non-union member the exact same right because of the legislation as of June 1, making agency shop mandatory. However, the simple majority can stay where it is. And you simply cannot say that because they had a right to vote in 1998, they should have a right to vote in 2021 because we're not going to strip away any rights from any workers rather than giving 100% contribution to the union or rather than paying 50-50. Well, what's interesting is that, and I know the minister, somebody would have said something about what was said yesterday on the talk show when this person called in about the ILO because it was rare. And I got, you know, I need to hide. I got Brother Glenn to read the statement from the PLP chairperson, Dawn Simmons, and he read the whole letter. And it talked about the ILO and ILO convention, and the government is in line with that. So my answer to the caller was, I just want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges. Because I wasn't sure the bargaining unit that we speak about, and rather it's ILO who has put out a paper on it, is saying that a worker in a bargaining unit, rather than a member or not, has a right to vote in a ballot for decertification. And I can tell you that is that worker paying 100%. That is that worker paying 100%, not 50%. Not 50%. Because the mere fact that a 50% contribution does not entitle you to a full vote. So just listening to one other caller that called the talk show a few minutes ago. Well, maybe what we can do now is like there's people who are going to pay 50%, give them a half a vote. And then we get another half a vote to make a whole. So how is that going to work? So when we have a ballot for decertification, we've got 13 and a half votes for and 7 against. I mean, it doesn't even sound logical. It don't. Interesting because ILO convention 87 and 98, the right to organize and collective bargaining and all this sort of things, and that comes from the ILO also. Collective bargaining. The unions go to the table, have been going to the table for over 60 plus years or 70 years to negotiate collective bargaining agreements. This caller came on the talk show just now and says, I see no reason why I should have to pay money to a charity or pay money to a union. Well, stay in the unorganized. That's all you got to do. Stay there. But in the organizer, this is how it works. And as I said to you before, prior to June 1st, there were two ballots that had happened. First of all, was a ballot for recognition. Then you have to come back and have a second ballot for agency shop. And if the workers in that workplace decide they want to vote for agency shop, the workers are demonstrating that right. So for that, caller to say, well, you don't think it's right, it's the workers who are deciding that, not the union and the employer. You know, no, the point could be taken. The new act now is saying it's now mandatory once recognition is approved for certification. It's automatic agency shop. These are very, very difficult times, and my advice to the government is that as long as they keep digging their heels in, that we have it all wrong and not got it right, we're going to be, the old saying is, we're going to be at a Mexican standoff. But who knows that hurt? It hurts the people over here. We offered to come back to the table a week or so ago. I said it last night on Berniers. I said it yesterday evening on Brother Glenn Baker's show. The BIU would like to get back to the table to have conversations with the government about the necessary amendments to the act. And they are reasonable, according to these are the minister's words he likes to use, fair and reasonable. They are fair and reasonable. The general public, as always, should hold the government accountable and should hold the union accountable. But here's the $64,000 question. Can the government, can anyone from the public explain why? This is what the deputy premier said yesterday. This is about one person, at least that's what the union is saying. It's about one person. Well, it started from one person, it did. Started with the lack of response from the minister to get back to the DPSU and the BIU. That's where it started. And unless you're going to acknowledge that fact, you're just sweeping it on the carpet and covering it up. And as I said yesterday, the 11 cabinet ministers is covering it up. The majority of the backbench is covering it up. And now the PLP party is covering it up and saying that it's okay. Don't worry about what the minister told the unions. Don't worry about that. How could you not worry about what a minister of labor, who happens to be a former leader of a trade union that fails to get back to labor, and he just gets a pass? How? How? How does the minister of labor, and as I said, the leader of a trade union, Michael Fay made some missteps. He made several missteps. And the people were holding him accountable. So it's kind of interesting now how we don't want to hold the current minister accountable. And the government is telling us, just let it go. If I don't have any trust, let me phrase it like this. If you don't have no trust in me as the leader of the BIU, then you need to get rid of me. The government is elected by the people to serve the people. So if you have base, if you have a dog, and you had him for these 10 years, and he decides on this morning that he's gonna bite your hand, my advice to you is to get rid of the dog. Because if he bit you once, he's gonna bite you again. So the Minister of Labor has made a mistake by not getting back to the unions, and he has yet to acknowledge the mistake that he made. Here's what's very interesting. He reports to, says on the talk show a few minutes ago, I had a conversation with the DPSU. Remember now, we had this situation where the 19th of May, the BPSU, the BIU was on the call for the Premier, the Minister, and the Manager of Workforce Development. That was on the 19th of May. On the 21st of May, Al Thomas puts out a press statement that the BPSU is now backing away from trying to get the government to agree to amend the Section 57. There are conversations with them, but now they disagree, so we're backing away. 19th, 21st, 24th of May, which is normally a holiday, but because the holiday was moved to the Friday, this is a Monday. The minister just said it. I met the BPSU, we explained the government's position. They went, done some checking, they came back and they agreed. So did you apologize to them for not coming back to us before the bill went to the House? Or strap underneath the carpet? Just a cover up. It's very interesting how the government's going to have the opposition. We're going to have opposition, and we've done the best we can to give you all the factual information about what has transpired. So it's kind of interesting that no one, rather it's the media, rather it's Mr. Flavor on the show just now, why couldn't he ask the minister, Mr. Minister, I heard the BIU president said, he called you twice, left 2 voicemail messages for you, and you never called it back. Is that true? Is it? And remember what I said to the media? Remember what I said to you yesterday? I made that phone call to the minister in front of 5 witnesses. 5. This is the BIU president, minister. Can you please give me a call back concerning the buses? And they were, and the voicemail messages were like probably 5 to 7 minutes apart. Why? Because I called him on one phone. I spoke to someone and said, "Look, this is about a phone to reach him on," and I had that number too, so I called that number. So that's why when I called the premier at 10 minutes before the afternoon, I told him I called the minister. I left 2 messages for him and haven't heard from him. But it just seems like that's not important. Everything else that's going on is important, and everybody's just turning a blind eye to this. The minister could do what he wants, and nobody's holding him accountable. And as I said to you yesterday, if this was a United Community Party government or UBA government, we would be holding them accountable. And if the government of the day, because it's PRP, is not communicating with the people or with the unions, then we need to hold them accountable. The bill that was passed on at the Assembly on December 11th, it was passed by a very clear majority. And whilst there might have been some MPs who might have been hesitant about approving the bill, it was approved. So you want to talk about accountability? As I said to you yesterday, it's about accountability for all. It was the United Community Party, the UBP's bill law in 1998. And up until May 31st, 2021, it was still the ABA's bill or law. On June 1, once it became law, even though it was passed in the House of Assembly on 11th of December, and it was then decided in January of 2021, it doesn't become law until June 1. So as of June 1 now, that law now belongs to the PLP. And it belongs to all the MPs who are in the House of Assembly who supported the bill. Those who might have had hesitation, they all agreed. And some of them expected that there were going to be amendments after the minister met the unions on the Friday. They expected amendments to the bill. But as we said a few months ago, the minister completely rejected the BPSU and BIU amendments of March 30th. They've rejected all of our amendments to date, that they're not willing to make any amendments to the act. So it's like going to the negotiating table. And the union has a position of 10% wage increase. The employers offering 5%. Neither one of them put the move off their position. Neither one. So I still make. Well, if you're not there to bargain in good faith, yes, you're not in a bargain in good faith. It just can't be, oh, well, we want to have dialogue, but we want to have dialogue to convince you of our position. And unless you're put to that, we don't want to talk to you. And that's what the deputy premier said when he came out of the press conference yesterday. And I was told by the police that they were still inside, but they want to come outside to talk to you. I said, okay, fine. So I'm expecting when they come outside, they're going to say something different. I looked at the deputy premier, he looked at me, I'm waiting for him to say something. So I said, my understanding is that you want to talk to us. No, our position remains the same. Well, if you don't come outside to just tell us that, you're going to just say as you tell the media that the government's position remains unchanged. Any questions from the media for today?
Are you saying that if the Minister of Labour was willing to contact you and acknowledge that he failed to meet with you back in December, then the bill went to Parliament, if he was prepared to do that and also said, okay, let's set up a meeting for further dialogue, would you agree to that and call off the protest?
So here's the question. The question is, if the minister contacted me and was willing to apologize for not getting back to the BPSU and the BIU before he took the bill to the House of Assembly, is the BIU prepared to go to the table and have dialogue? I just want everybody to be crystal clear. Whilst we do understand the government has its position right now, the BIU has its position, every issue, whether it's a labor dispute, whether it's a protest, has to, at some point in time, get resolved. Now, what's the resolution? The parties sit down, have a conversation as to what they can agree to. My members who have had healthy divisional meetings and told us this is basically our position on Section 57. The Executive Board and General Council has made the decision based on what the membership has said to them. So if the government wants to put something on the table for us to now turn things down so we can get back to the table and have dialogue, we're always willing to have that conversation, always. We offered to go back to the table to the deputy. And if I remember correctly, you had thought that we denied it. And I had to clarify for you that we actually suggested that we go back to the table. So certainly, I think it's in the country's best interest. Because make no mistake about it, we have international affiliates that we're talking to. We have international affiliates that the BIU is speaking with about support. We don't want to go get international support, but if we will, we have to. We've done it for KFC, and we'll certainly do it for this issue.
One other question. You talk about government coming to the table and perhaps putting forward a compromise in its current position. What compromise is the BIU willing to put forward? Where's the middle ground coming in this? Because at the moment it seems there's no middle ground.
I really don't want to negotiate with the government in the media. I don't think that's the correct thing that we should be doing. Just know that the BIU has a position that we think will be fair and reasonable for the government to take a look at it. And if they want to run it by, I guess the legal team is where the government is stuck. And they're still not producing legal opinion. So where's it to? About one, why would you not share it as to the reason why you can't do what the union is suggesting that you can do, which is to allow those workers in the bargaining unit who are contributing 100% to get a vote in a ballot for decertification. A mayor section 57(6) of the Act says not a simple majority to get to the united door. Let us see the legal opinion about what we are proposing, and then maybe I'm not saying we're going to agree. Maybe you should have got a second opinion. Maybe you should have got a third opinion. Because the AG's chambers don't have a good track record for dealing with issues in Bermuda. They don't. Any further questions? No? Thank you. Yes.
What happens after today? If there is no meeting with government, if there is no dialogue,
Can I ask you, did you get the did you send it out yesterday? The press thing. Did it go? About the meeting for today and reaction to protests and all that? Did it go to the meeting? Okay. All right. So my apologies, but there was supposed to be a communication sent to the media yesterday that then you know that we made the decision that we're asking for our members for the BIU, members of our sister unions, and members of the general public to come out and support today by way of a protest. And the protest is in line with the Constitution, Rule 10. That's everyone's constitutional right. If they don't like something that the government's doing, you have a right to be in the streets to protest. So I can tell you that I apologize for getting that, but the last sentence right at the very bottom of that communication clearly states that the union membership will make the decision on what happens from today. And just so nobody gets this wrong, and you go ask one of my members about does that mean it's going to be a protest tomorrow? To be crystal clear, there was a 2-day protest for today and yesterday. There will be no protest tomorrow. Because I think in good faith, we simply cannot now turn this over to a 3-day protest. That's not doing things in good faith. That would be my advice to the membership this afternoon. I understand a few brothers from the fire department have joined us. Can we clap our hands for them? And I understand there's a few members of customs also standing around, right? I think everyone in Bermuda understands the position that Bermuda finds itself in with the pandemic. There's all kinds of protocols, there's all kinds of quarantines, there's all kinds of things that are going on right now. There are people who are still unemployed. What is ever going to be the right time for you to try to tell the government that what you're doing is not correct? We understand the difficulty, we understand the challenge. But I will repeat what I said to you yesterday. The union has 7 properties. We weren't able to buy 7 properties overnight. But over a period of time, that's what we've been able to accumulate through our forefathers. So we stand on the shores. So it's very important now for us to understand that this is about our future. And I'm not trying to put any skirt taxes into the government or any skirt taxes to our members, but if you look at the court meeting of Sunday, if you look at the employer position or the lawyer's position and the government's position, how they're aligned. That this is not a labor dispute. And I thank them for that. I really do. I thank them. Because that allows our members who work in the social service and other areas to say, you know what? If I'm going to have a protest, I'm not going to give you no notice. When I say no notice, I'm talking about like a 7-day notice or a 21-day notice. I might say to you, it's a protest next week Tuesday. I would like to be able to go and exercise my constitutional right for 2 hours and be involved in the protest. That's your constitutional right. So I guess I'm now figured that put themselves in a box. Now they're going to try to get themselves out. Good luck. Just come back to the table. Yeah, you better get out of the box and we can put the country back to normal. Any further questions?
Well, question.
Yes.
Shout it out. Everybody hear me. Well, I spoke to Mr. Finnegan, if I'm saying your name correct.
Correct.
About a paragraph from the acting premier of the government not going to force anybody to join the union. Just make it crystal clear that we don't do that. We encourage people because of the situation like we're in today. And just make the public clear on that. That the union does not force people or use strict tactics to be part of this step.
So the question is that it would appear that the deputy premier is saying that the BIU is trying to force people to join the BIU. We're not trying to force anybody to do anything they don't want. They don't want to do. So you decide if you want to give 100% contribution to the union and not be a union member, you can do that. I'm not telling you got to join the union. The law says right now, as of June 1, that if you work in a unionized area, that you now must pay 50% contribution or 50% service fee. It's a service fee, not membership. And the service fee is for what? For all these services that you've been getting for free. You can't make this up. The vacation, be sick, the wages, everything that you just sitting back out there collecting. That's what that service fee is for. So should we make this retroactive? No, why not even ask them for it to be made back dated 1 year? It's from June 1. So if you've been enjoying this benefit for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, well, be thankful. Just be thankful.
Also, I'd like to bring up again and share with the gentleman that I worked at DBT for a number of years, and there's many of people down there that was ununionized, but they got the problem. The unions need to save their job. So we represent all the workers in that division, whether you put the union or not.
And that just don't happen at DPT. We've had over the years representing other non-union members. Pick up the fan, Mr. Frederick, Ms. Burgess, Father Sumner. We got this issue. Can you help us out? We've never refused to give people advice. We didn't say, well, you remember, go to your labor department. We told them, but give me advice, and we told them, look, but you're probably gonna have to go to the labor department because your workplace is not organized. That's what we do. We can't clarify it enough for you. The deputy premier yesterday talked about this redundancy package that the government paid to our members of that Fairmont. I'm not regretting letting them do that to me. I'm regretting it. Because he made it sound like he done us a favor. You paid my members the redundancy pay, you got your money back. But why are you throwing it back in our face? Why? You asked question. First of all, let's just be clear. The BIU didn't run to the government and ask them to pay our members redundancy pay at some their princess. Fairmont, we never asked them that. The Minister of Finance called me on the phone. And I had him on the speakerphone in the boardroom. Mr. Fabric, have requests to make on you. What's that? Oh, well, the management team at Fairmont failed to pay the redundancy pay. It looks like the date's been pushed back, and we don't want this to happen again. So the government wants to step in and pay the redundancy money. I said, Mr. Minister, let me talk with my members, talk with my team, and see if we can get that done for you. So don't make it sound like all of a sudden this came out of the blue. They came with a person that was reasonable, the members accepted it, and we transferred our rights, our workers' rights over to the government. In case the employer didn't pay, the members signed a paper to say if we don't get that money back, we can go and sue the employer to get the money back. But to put it out there the way you put it out there, it's like we done that and you should be thankful. Really? Any further questions? Yeah. Well, thank you, members of the media. Brothers and sisters, we're going to let the media, I know they hung around yesterday, so I'm going to hang around this morning. But we just, brother, yeah.
I have one question.
Sure.
Sure. Must be that. Must be important.
Take the mic.
Morning, brothers and sisters. I have one question, especially for the government. Next week is Labor Day. Would they be coming, or what would they have to say beyond this?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Being that next week is Labor Day,
Yes.
where do you think they will stand to?
Well, they won't be standing there. No, but let's remember now, we are very consistent. We were having challenges with the ABA, and we told them we're not going to be invited to speak for Labor Day. So we're going to issue with the government right now. You think they're going to come here and stand and speak? Oh, that's a double standard. Because people say, oh, well, you had issues with the ABA back several years ago. You didn't allow them to speak. You got issues with the government now. How come you allow them to speak? I don't know. We're going to be consistent. Well, the service. Well, my understanding is that they haven't given us permission to have the Labor Day march. It was kind of like the request for yesterday. Now we got no response back, you know. Yeah, we requested permission and they didn't even respond.
We'll be marching anyway.
Well, brother here, I'm glad you said that. Not me.
Huh?
Cool, thank you. No, we was asking our sister union, Fire Service Association, if one of them wanted to just make a couple of comments, and they said they'll just here for support. So once again, we thank you for the support. So who's I know play chess. I can play checkers, English and French. But I do know that if you touch a man, you're supposed to leave. It's now up to the government. We put it out there. We put it out there by the media that we would like to come back to the table and have dialogue. And the dialogue has to begin by at least telling the truth. And if it's an apology that's needed, then that should be forthcoming first and foremost. You cannot begin a healing process if somebody offends you, whether it's your husband or your wife, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, or your friend. If they offend you, they owe you an apology. If you decide like you don't want an apology, that's fine. But out of the relationship, an apology is due. And that's why I continue to say that if you're standing on the facts and more facts and more facts, you're not going to worry about what the government's saying about you or what the private sector's saying about you. Our position from 1998 was what it was. We told the UBP back then, we told the current government now, we never agreed to that. Our position has remained the same all the way through. And the reason why I know the minister knows this because we had issues at LAC where LAC was trying to tell us that everybody in the bargain had a right to vote. And we told them, no, we don't agree to that. So we just came up recently, just 2014, 15. This issue was coming up at the Labor Advisory Council. And we was having conversations with a couple of workplaces that want to look at decertification. And we tell the Labor Department, sorry, but those people can't vote in the ballot for decertification. They said, why not? Because the words in 30P says no longer support the union. What does that mean? Don't mean enough to you? Well, here's what it means to us. Because we put the words in there. We put the words in there. To Clinton Edwards, who was the Minister of Labor. Mr. Minister, the unions need some protection. You want to, and Sister Ronnie gave the outline, I can't remember the outline that she gave, as relates to, I think it was 1983. She was talking about, the UBP was talking about this whole thing about decertification. Yeah, it didn't come to the table until 1998. 83, 98, 15 years it took to get to the table. But once it got there, the UBP made up its mind, we're going to get further controls on labor, and we need to introduce a decertification process. And you want the unions to agree to that? And Brother Derek and myself, Chairman, we made it crystal clear to him. Derek became president in 1996. And when we were talking to Minister Adams, we said, no, we cannot agree to that. Can we create some language that we at least gives the union some protection? Okay, what you're looking for? Let's put the words, no longer support the union. That means that in order for you to initiate a ballot for decertification, it means you have to be a union member. You no longer support us now. You want to issue a ballot for decertification. And they agreed. The words are put in there. And now here we are, 10 or 20 years later, Labor Department think, well, them words don't mean nothing. They don't. But that's because you don't know the intent of why the words were put there. And I didn't go by what somebody told me. Father Derek and I was there firsthand. He was the president of BIU. I was the vice president of BIU. You can't make this stuff up. This is all factual information. So for the government to think that the BIU is going to accept that a non-union member is going to just walk in and automatically have a right to vote in a ballot for decertification. And I get back to what I said to you earlier. It's very disingenuous for the minister to come on a talk show and at least not clarify the BIU's position on that, because he knows our position on it. He knows. But you're gonna make it seem like, oh no, well, we're being straight up, we're being honest about this, honest about that. So call him back and ask him, is it true what the president said? Did you know that was the BIU's position? Always had been our position. Did you know that? The idea. So why did you not say that? This is the law, or we know that this is the BIU's position on that? Because everybody that listened to that talk show this morning is now taking it away to think that's been the law. The BIU not gonna have a problem with it. So what's the issue? So now we're going to come back and try damage control because of what he said. As opposed to him, I'll give you another good example. Look what happened in 2020 when this bill was given to the House, and on December the 10th, when we had the press conference, I told the media, BIU President Chris Fabric, I told the media that the minister and the bill, this was the act of 1998, because people were talking about, oh, now the minister's doing this, the minister's doing that. Who came to his defense? Who came to his defense? Me. You got this wrong. So that's why when he could say this is the way it's been since 1998, it's correct. It's correct. That's the way it's been. But that's not what the union supported. The union never supported that. Never. So I can't certainly tell you that, oh, it was that way then, it's this way now. Is there any one minor change now? Minor change, but a big change. And the big change is, as of June 1, it is mandatory. Once a union wins a ballot for certification, it is mandatory for that worker in the bargaining who is not unionized to either pay 50, or they can give 100% contribution to the union, but they can no longer give 100% to charity as of June 1. So that is the change. And to some degree, it's a significant change. Why? Because you're telling those workers in a bargaining unit that you now have to give for OD, as we went through a few minutes ago, for the service fee, you're not going to pay 50%. So if the minister is going to come forward anytime in the future to speak to the media, please just give the truth. That's all we're asking for. And don't try to mislead the public that no, it's all their fault and nothing's on me. Nothing's on us. Why? Why the government? As we said yesterday, you just do what we say and you should be all right. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Yeah. Any final questions? Any final questions? No? Okay, thank you. Hey, Livingston, Brother Livingston Tuesday, saying his Donovan Livingston. All right, bro. Donovan Livingston. Listen to what he just said to me. It's overcast. It's a good day to march. He marched in the shed yesterday. You knew that was coming. So you walk right into that. You're smart. Well, I'm not sure if they're having a press conference today. They may or may not. What I say to you, brothers and sisters, we made the call for others to come and join us today in the protest. And if I have to just look around and take a guess, maybe it's another 30 or 40 or 50 people here today. The minute they asked me yesterday what I was like dissatisfied with the turnout. Any turnout right now, it's an acceptable turnout. We would always like to have more, but if members or the public have the reason as to why, as I said to Brother Glenn yesterday, he asked me to come down on the show yesterday afternoon. I went down about 4 o'clock. Brother Borton and I went down at 4 o'clock. And we left at 6 o'clock. We was there for 2 hours. Took about 40 calls. About 40. Not one of those calls was negative about opposition. Not one. When I was going out to do it, Brother Glenn said to me, he just shook his head. He said, I ain't never seen this. We always get these 1 or 2 people that call with some negative, but not one. So now, to the contrary, you might go on the other station today and you might have a few people calling you with negative comments. And people are entitled to that point of view. And if you all didn't see the Facebook post of monkeys, that's insulting, okay? That is very insulting, okay? Yeah, they referred to us as monkeys yesterday. Houses closed. Why are these monkeys marching around the streets? I'd like to find out where your house is so we can march up on your house. I'm monkey.
And they go to house niggas.
Yep, that was coming next. That was coming next. So we have a name. And I'm going to call his name. Since he posted it and he put his name there, you might know him. Is it David Saltus is his name?
Giddy boy.
And so that's the one that called us
House niggas.
house niggas. I understand he has some charges for December 2nd, 2016, because he assaulted a police officer. Well, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. As we always knew or know, that there always can be people that are going to be for you and people that can be against you. And if you doubt what I'm saying is true, Bill Clinton served 2 terms as United States president, 2 terms, 1992 to the year 2000. His approval rating never got above probably 75%. So that means no matter what he did, 25% of the American people said, I don't care what you do, I'm gonna never support you. Go to the Bible, look at things in the Bible about how, most of you who know the Bible a lot better than me, you can know the challenges that Jesus had and other people had in the Bible. So you think I'm surprised that people out there can talk about Chris Trevor, we're going to talk about Ottawa Simmons, going to talk about Derek Burgess? Let me tell you where we should stop there. First, we should stop. When people say, I can't wait for somebody to die so I can piss on their grave, and walk out there, still got it. Still got it. That's when your freedom of speech goes a bit too far. Whilst you have the right to have a conversation about, I don't think what Mr. Faber is doing is correct, just make sure you do it in a respectful manner. So the mere fact that we have detractors in the general public, we have detractors in some of our members. Our history teaches us that it's not something that we should not expect. You have a point of view, they have a point of view. It's not your job to convince you that their point of view is right, and it's your job to convince them that your point of view is right. Because here's the problem that the world has. The mere fact that we have so many people in the world and they have difference of opinion is a good thing. Because if we had a world where everybody agreed, it really won't be a real good place. Because I know what you're thinking and what I'm thinking, and that's it. So we have our challenges, and all I would say, continue to encourage our members' support, public support, our sister unions, and we can have further conversations about that this afternoon, because I think that decision should be made this afternoon and not today. At the end of the day, a decision should be made about next steps from the members, as we said. It's in the flyer that should have been to the media last night, but we will definitely make sure it goes out sometime today. Thank you. So, Martin. I'm sorry, Martin. We're going for a little stroll? Arnold says got his soul shoes on today. I had mine on yesterday. Okay. So I know yesterday we marched, and when we came back, there was quite a few still sitting. And I know it's because the doctor advised you not to exercise. All I would say to you is that if you could participate in the march, it would be great. If you don't think you could make the hill route, you might decide to march a little ways and turn around and come back. Well, here's the comment that was made yesterday when we came marching back to Union Square. No, it's not trying to go. What's that? So, hands up. Yes, no, maybe so. One. Those hands are not very high today, so I might have. We're talking about marching. Hands up for those who want to march. That's the question. Okay. Okay. Those not interested, put your hand up. Brother Rip, you're not marching it? Okay, cool. All right, so I'll get, yes, Brother Rip. No, but your brother makes a good point. Remember now, I'm going, but I don't want to. We don't want to do what we're doing right now, but we're doing it because it has to be done. And it has to be done for who? Not just for us. Who has to be done for? Look, you've been able to enjoy the vacation time that you enjoy in the workplace, the sick time that you enjoy in the workplace, and not that you think your wages should be a lot better, but you got your wages that you enjoy. You enjoy all their benefits because of the British National Union and our forefathers. So, We stand on their shoulders. They sacrifice, and they sacrifice, and they sacrifice. And if you haven't stopped and thought for a moment, where would we be if our forefathers would have said, you know what, we're not doing this. We're now going to stand back and not force the issue. What do you think that organized labor will be today? No, I mean, to be fair, we're not the oldest union. We can lay claim to that. The teachers union is the oldest union in Bermuda. It was founded in 1919. They celebrated 100 years back in, 2019, 100 years. Well, we are the second oldest union in Bermuda. And whilst we've, been at the forefront of making sure that the rights of organized labor was protected, and everything should be treated just, fair, and all this sort of things, we've done what we needed to do on behalf of organized labor, and by extension, the people of Bermuda. So it's most important for us to understand that it's our time now. It's our time to take care of what was built for us, to make sure that we're able to pass it on to our youth. And as long as we're going to lose sight of that, rather it's a OBA government, PLP government, we can't lose sight of that. Thank you. Cut in line, everybody up. We'll leave in about 15, 20 minutes.